Hi there, and welcome to MiWeek. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Christy McDonald. Spring officially arrives tomorrow. We've already had a taste of the warm weather, but spring in Michigan can only mean one thing: potholes. The roads, they're a mess. As the snow melts away, the potholes are opening up and making driving dangerous and really annoying. Coming up, will voters pass a complicated plan to fix Michigan's roads? We'll take a look at the pros and cons of Proposal 1. Plus, at least one Detroit City Council member wants a pay increase. Is it justified or just poor timing? Also, the State Board of Education selects a new leader for Michigan schools. And the mayor of Rochester Hills takes on Madonna. It is all coming up for you on MiWeek. But we do start with Proposal 1. It's being described as a complicated solution to a long-standing problem. If approved, the plan will raise the state sales tax to 7%. It would eliminate the state sales tax on fuel, but the fuel tax would increase. That means we would see a jump of 8 to 9 cents a gallon at the pump. The plan will generate about $1.3 billion a year to fix Michigan's crumbling roads and bridges. And now it's up to voters to decide on May 5th if Proposal 1 is the best answer for getting the roads repaired. And that's where we begin our discussion with our MiWeek contributors, Nolan Finley of the Detroit News and Stephen Henderson of the Detroit Free Press. Hey, guys. So, yeah, when spring comes along, we know the potholes open up and the roads are miserable around where I live.
They're miserable 12 months of the year now. I mean, we keep talking about pothole season. Pothole season lasts from January to December. I mean, the roads are a mess, and you know they're not going to get any better.
All right. So, but is the fact that things are really opening up now, Stephen, is this really going to encourage people to read what's in Proposal 1 and get them out on May 5th?
I'm not sure. I think it is it's too complicated for people to sift through. I mean, I think these ballot proposals tend to be better when they are really simple questions. You know, one thing, yes or no. This is 10 things, yes or no, and you might be for some of them and not others. And you might not like the way that the road funding formula, looks on the back end of this thing. So I'm supporting it. We came out in the Free Press over the weekend in support of it. But I am not optimistic that it's going to pass. I mean, I think that there are enough people who are confused or just think it does too much who are going to vote no.
What is the most difficult thing to understand about this, Nolan?
Or
the top 5 difficult things to understand about this?
I don't think it's all that difficult to understand. I think people understand it and they don't like it. I mean, I have never seen this level of hostility toward a ballot proposal. We get letters all day long about this thing, and almost never get a letter saying I'm going to vote yes. I mean, I'd be shocked if this thing passed. And I think the most controversial piece of it is, well, I mean, there's so much wrong with it, but the most controversial piece of it is you're talking about give us money for safe roads, and yet 40% of the money raised won't go to roads. It'll go to schools and other spending that people may not be feel as is urgent enough for a tax hike of this nature. And I think that's the problem with it. They larded it up with a whole lot of non-road spending, and that's got people. It's got people angry.
What are some of the things that people are pointing out in the notes?
Well, I mean, there is school. There's money that's going to schools. They're restoring the earned income tax credit, and these are things that are good policy. These are things that they should have done during the legislative session last year. Anyway, we published a pretty extensive look at the proposal and all the 10 different things that it will do. There's some stuff on there people would like, some stuff that they wouldn't, but it's too much. And I do think it is confusing people about the way all of this happens. I mean, it's a raise in the sales tax in exchange for a gradual reduction in some fuel taxes, and I mean it's a lot. And you don't have a proponent out there saying, here's the simple reason to vote for this, other than the governor who's saying this is about safety. But I don't know that's selling the way he thinks it is.
Well, they're starting to run some ads too. That's what the theme is that they're hammering, and you have people telling their stories about surviving, concrete being dropped from bridges on roads. Don't you think that is the most powerful message, though, Nolan?
I mean, it's the only message they've got. I've thought from beginning they don't need to convince people the roads are bad. People know the roads are bad. They've got to convince people that this is the only way to fix it. Nobody writes in and says, the roads aren't that bad. We don't need to spend this money. Everybody understands we need to spend money. People believe there's money elsewhere that could be found, that they could make cuts in the budget and come up with this billion and a half dollars. And they also just don't like the way this thing's structured. I think if they'd have put a straight gas tax hike on the ballot, let's raise the gas tax by 15 cents, particularly now when gas is $1 something cheaper than it was a year ago, that would have passed. The sales tax is a hard sell for anything.
All right, but does this new legislature, should this not pass, are there ideas out there to try to come up with some alternate plan after May 5th, or are there plans to just start cutting from the budget we already have?
That's what the plan is. I mean, you have this alternate road plan, quote unquote, that Jace Bolger floated last year, by which you would essentially, shift money around and take it from schools and local governments to pay for roads. That I think will get more traction in the legislature if this goes down, and that's not helping us either.
Now, and many of the pieces of that plan aren't even constitutional, or they would have to go back to the
ballot
voters, which that's ridiculous.
That's going to be a process. Well, I like something that you wrote. It was very interesting, Nolan, that if this does not pass, that there should be a part-time legislature.
I mean, these guys had a job.
This should be the plan B.
Well, it should have been plan A from the beginning. We don't need a full-time legislature up there if they can't get the job done. This was a straightforward assignment: find money for the roads, and they made about as big a mess of it as they could. And now they're sitting here telling us, well, there's no plan B. This legislature won't do anything. They won't find a fix. Well, then send them home. Most other states, 39 other states, have part-time legislature. Michigan had a part-time legislature until 1963. Make them part-time in term limits, and maybe we get some more courageous lawmaking going on up there.
All right, so you laugh. Is that a possibility that a part-time legislature could work here in Michigan?
Well, I mean, I'm
or
for...
you think Nolan's being a little hasty?
No, well, I'm for a part-time legislature, and I'm for the end of term limits. But those are good policy positions on their own. I don't think you tie them to the roads. That's not going to get the roads fixed.
Hammer them what people are angry.
Right. I mean, maybe we get it because people are mad at them, and we end up in those positions. I think the fear that I have is that part-time legislature or not, we're not going to get a solution out of the environment in Lansing that makes sense to fix the roads anytime soon, and that's the problem with Prop 1.
All right, we have a couple more people who are coming out in support of Prop 1, though. What do you think, though, needs to happen in the next 4 weeks? Is there anything huge that could sway this one way or the other?
I mean, they've got to raise some money, a lot of money, and just pound the airwaves with, this is good policy. This will fix your roads. I think that's one option. The other option would be, and I don't have much hope of this happening, but if I were the governor and reading these tea leaves and taking a look at the sentiment against this proposal, I would go to the legislature and say, give people an alternative. Say, just pass a straight 15-cent gas hike, tax hike that goes into effect if this fails.
You think this legislature would do that? I mean, there's no appetite for that up there.
If they made it look like a choice, I know it's a problem, but do they really want this thing in their lap on May 6th?
Well, when in doubt, drown your sorrows in some ice cream. Ashby's Sterling ice cream from out of Shelby Township.
Are we doing a commercial?
No, they've made a new flavor called Michigan Pothole.
Oh,
it's chocolate with dark fudge and chocolate pieces. How about that?
Stuff, yeah.
Oh, so you didn't like my pothole ice cream?
It's more like pothole filler, right?
That's right.
It's what you would put in a pothole.
Just patch it. All right. That went over real well.